Hello Cloud Gurus, and in this lecture we're going to explore versioning. So to enable versioning on our bucket, we'll need to go back to our bucket. We'll click on Properties, and we'll go down here and find versioning. Now it's important to remember that if we enable versioning on this bucket, all we can do is suspend versioning. We can't disable versioning. So it's quite important to remember that when you're designing this, because with versioning you pay for each version of the file that you're storing. So if somebody goes in and updates a file and creates a new version, AWS will see that as two separate files, so you've got to keep that in mind from a cost perspective. Once you've allowed versioning on a bucket, that's it. You can only suspend versioning, you cannot disable it. The only way to disable it is to delete the bucket and all the versions within the bucket and then create a new bucket with the same name. So versioning allows you to preserve, retrieve and restore every version of every object stored in this bucket. And what we're going to do now is we're going to enable versioning on this bucket. And it's quite simple. You just click the button. It says, are you sure you want to enable versioning for the selected bucket? We click OK, and there we go. If we wanted to suspend versioning, we would click that button and we could suspend it as well. So now let's go into the bucket, and what we're going to do is we're going to upload a file. And you can see here actually, you see there's a versions tab, and you can either hide or show the different versions. Now because we've just enabled versioning, you're not going to see any different versions here. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload a file, and it's a file that I have created already, which is just a rich text format file which says Hello Cloud Gurus. I'm going to start and upload this. Once it's uploaded, we can see the file here. If we click on versions, we should see, here we go, the file, and here's the file, and this is the first version. So it's sort of a nested hierarchy. So you see the file here, this is the version, this is the storage class, this is the version ID, and that's how much it is in bytes. So if we hide this and go back to our file, let's try and delete the file and see what happens. Are you sure you want to delete hello.richText format? We'll say yes, okay. If we close this, and we go back to our versions and hit show, you can still see the file, and you can see the version, which is a delete marker, and this is basically where we've said delete the file, but the actual the original version of the file is here. So if a user has accidentally deleted it, basically AWS is just putting in a delete marker, and the way to go about restoring that file is to delete the delete marker. So if we go in here and we hit delete, and we go back to hide, we should be able to see our restored file. Just refresh the page. There we go. There's our restored file. So we've now restored it to our bucket. So the only way to delete a file permanently from a bucket is to delete the delete marker as well as all versions of that file. So what we'll do now is we'll go in and we'll change the text file to add an additional line. So just maximize this. We'll say Hello Cloud Gurus, and then I'll add a new file and say, okay, goodbye cruel world. I'll just add a new line, we'll save it. And now if I go back to my browser, and I can go in and let's say we want to delete this version because we're going to upload a new version. Actually, let's not do that. Let's add the new version now. So I'm going to upload, add files, hello. I'm going to start the upload, and now you'll see it's very subtle, but it's gone from 370 bytes to 371 bytes. So this is the new file. If we go back to show, you can see the two different version numbers, two different version IDs. So we've got the one that we created originally, which was 345 bytes, and we've got the new one, which is 371 bytes. So if we wanted to restore back to the old version, we'd simply go in and delete this version. And that's how we would do a restore. So that's Version control is quite simple, easy to use. It is, and I will stress this again, remember that you are now paying for both versions of these files, so even though it appears that there's only one bucket in your S3, there is only one file in your S3 bucket, there's actually two. And you just have to bear in mind the cost implications of enabling versioning. If you work for like a large media organization, you're constantly updating image files, you definitely would not want version control turned on to the bucket in which you're storing those image files, because it's going to cost you a fortune. So that concludes this lecture on versioning. In the next section, we're going to go through lifecycle management and how we can implement this with version control, and basically, manage our costs, and then use things like Amazon's Glacier service to archive different versions. So I hope to join you in the next lecture. Thank you.